Hello, everybody. This is Armando, and today I'm here to talk to you guys about something that is meaningful to me. I hope that by the end of this testimony, you understand why I have a strong position and also take into account why the government and the Centers for Disease Control, also known as CDC, make these rules that we may or may not agree with. Recently on social media, I've been seeing a lot of negative derogatory posts towards the government and how people are basically saying that the government shouldn't be making a big deal because we should just live life as normal as if nothing happened, and do we have to wear masks, why this, why that. Well, again, I'm hoping to say this, and I can't stress this enough, that there are reasons why the government and the Centers for Disease Control make all these rules. For starters, let me just say this outright the door. I am a COVID 19 survivor. Yes, you heard it right. I was diagnosed with COVID and I lived through COVID, and it was not a pleasant experience. And you will see when I give you the rundown of what you can expect when you live with COVID, why I am in full support of why the government and or CDC should implement and enforce all these rules that you may not agree with. On August 31st, a relative of mine had to go get tested, whose name should not be revealed, nor am I going to talk about the relationship other than the fact that this individual is a relative. We took this relative to get tested, and by September 3rd, the relative came back positive, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, well, it's just the relative. Who gives a darn? I'm not going to wear a mask. I'm going to go lay in my hammock. Nothing's going to happen to me. I'm not going to get COVID. Oh my gosh, these people are just making a big deal about it. And who cares? Let's just not wear the mask. Well, on September 5th, I go get tested. And on September 8th, I get slapped with the news that I came out positive. Now, how exactly did I contract the virus? Well, I contracted the virus because of the simple fact that I chose not to wear a mask when I was outside. I knew the proximity of the relative and where my hammock was, and the fact that the relative had the window open to the bedroom where the individual was staying to maintain quarantine and the whole 6 feet apart social distancing and such. And as a result, I contracted the virus because of the fact that this individual had the window open. And of course, anything that you breathe, well, sadly, that's how you get it. You can contract the virus in different ways. But in my case, I contracted it because of breathing it and the fact that I chose not to maintain the social distancing aspect, and I chose not to wear protective gears for your face, such as a mask. And well, sadly, because of that, I got to suffer the consequences. So from September 8th onwards, I started experiencing what I would call common cold flu-like symptoms. These include such as the cold chills, the cold, the coughing, your chest being all heavy, dizziness, nausea, and the fact that you were too weak to stand, my bones were hurting. And well, I went on the Center for Disease Control's website and I basically read on it, and they said to take ibuprofen. Well, I went and got ibuprofen, or actually I sent my mom to get me some ibuprofen, along with Pedialyte and Gatorade and other foods that I could drink. And, well, the story begins like this. On September 10th, I started slowly losing my ability to smell, my ability to taste. I was having, I guess, chills. I couldn't sleep well. I was very delirious. I guess you could say I was basically lost. And then on September 11th, I drank some coffee. I almost evacuated coffee and I had to throw the rest of the coffee away. And I said I couldn't do this no more. And I was stuck to soft foods such as soups and anything soft. And meanwhile, on September 12th, my mom kept bugging me to go to the hospital, and I said no because at that time a friend of mine decided to break the news to me that another person who was visually impaired passed away. And I said to myself, I don't want to be the next one to die, so I'm going to tough it out and I'm going to be a man. And I said, no, I am not going to the hospital. September 13th, I stuck to my ibuprofen. I was feeling a little better, but not enough to where I can maintain full conversation. My chest was still hurting. My bones didn't hurt anymore, but I was still hurting as far as my chest. I couldn't breathe. I felt kind of compressed to where I ran out of breath, and I just kept on coughing, coughing, coughing. And finally on September 14th, my mom says, we're going to the hospital and we're going to go now. Because at that point, I couldn't talk. I kept on coughing. I just couldn't breathe. So we went to the hospital. And I got to give props to Enloe Medical Center. Because the moment we got there, the main nurse who was screening at the door asked about me, why I wasn't here. I told the nurse. Also asked about my mom. And I basically said, she's my mom. And the nurse said, well, she's going to have to stay outside. She can't come in with you. I said, well, if that's the case, and I said this politely, who's going to lead me? And I asked, do you guys have staff that can lead me from the ER, basically from registration to triage to wherever else we need to go? The nurse said, no, in this case, we'll just let your mom handle it. So, and if they make a big deal about your mom, then we will go and deal with it. So I went to registration, got checked in, they asked about my mom, and the nurse at that point overheard the conversation, says, he's visually impaired, he needs help, so I basically allowed his mom to go in with him. So we went to isolation, they put us in an isolation room where a nurse came and triaged me, took my vital signs, blood pressure, oxygen levels, you name it, and then they had me wait there, and about another 5 minutes later, they took us into the back where they put us in an isolation room that basically had 3 doors that isolated you from everybody else. Basically, once they shut that door, it was nothing but like dead silence. All you would hear is the machines in the room and the sound of the air conditioning, and of course, whoever's with you, the breathing and such. So then the nurse came, triaged me once more, asked me questions, if I had allergies, and basically said to me, okay, the doctor will be in a few minutes. About 40 minutes later, an x-ray technician comes in and says, we need to take x-rays of you, your back and chest and lungs and everything. I said, okay, fine. So they took the x-ray. They placed like a cold pad on your back, and they had you breathe while they took an x-ray. And then about 20 minutes later after the x-ray, the doctor comes in, starts talking to me, and he says, what medication are you taking? And I basically said ibuprofen. He's like, that's your problem. You're taking ibuprofen. It's not helping you. It's giving you pneumonia. And he said, if you would have waited one more day, either A, you could have died, or B, you would have been in ICU, intensive care unit. And, well, that wouldn't have worked out well for you. So he went and filled out a prescription. Meanwhile, another nurse walks in about 20 minutes later and says, so the doctor gave you Zofran for nausea, he gave you an antibiotic for your pneumonia, and a Tylenol to kind of help with everything. So the nurse had me take all the meds, and then she's like, before I discharge you, we need to take your blood pressure, and we need to do another COVID test on you. And I tell you, that COVID test was painful. They shoved like a toothpick-like deal up your nose, through your nostrils, almost touching your skull. And they do it so vigorously that literally my mom said that they withdrew blood from me when it came to that aspect. So then we get discharged, or I get discharged rather, and we wait for about 20 minutes while they fill my meds, my prescription at the pharmacy. They gave me 2 out of the 3 meds that I need because, of course, Tylenol's an over the counter. So then my mom decides, okay, I asked her if we can go to either CVS or Walgreens or whatever was nearby to buy the Tylenol. So she gets me the Tylenol. Then we go home, and the doctor says, you are to be quarantined for 10 days. So I get home, at that point, my mom makes me food. She sent to somebody to get some soups, and instead they brought top ramen. So they brought the soups that we were referring to as like the Mexican soups that she'll make with vegetables and chicken and such. But instead they brought top ramen, so I was made top ramen. I ate top ramen with like 5 chocolate pretzels. And I just didn't want nothing to do with nothing. I just wanted to basically sleep, take the meds, go to sleep, maybe perhaps feel better. Well, on Tuesday, I get served a cinnamon tea with ginger. And of course, I'm stuck to the soft foods. My mom tries to get me to eat solids, but at that point, I just wasn't having it because of the fact that I was so drained from all the coughing and heaving and everything that I wanted nothing to do with solids. I had at least 2 waffles, and I said, nope, I can't have this anymore. And the way she makes the waffles, it's a huge waffle, but they cut it in half type of thing, in squares. Or not squares, triangles. So I had 2 of those triangle waffles, and I said I couldn't have any more. She tried giving me a cookie. I wouldn't take a cookie. And then after a while, I was basically stuck with nothing but top ramen, Pedialyte, Gatorade, juices, whatever, just to get me to eat something. Well, at that time, she gets a hold of another relative of mine, and the other relative that she corresponded with said, well, why don't you give him a red onion tea with honey, lemon, and a couple aspirin. So she went, got some aspirin and the other supplies that she needed. And of course, by then I'd already taken my antibiotic. And from there, she made this red onion tea. I said, ew, I don't want it. It's nasty. That doesn't sound too appealing. So then she said, you're going to drink it whether you want to or not, because it's going to help loosen up a lot of the mucus that the med won't be able to do. So of course I took a shower, drank that medicine, that remedy if you must, that home remedy. And lo and behold, the next morning I was already evacuating a lot of the mucus that was built up into my lungs from the pneumonia, thanks to the red onion and tea. So I had that home remedy for about 3 to 4 days, around the same time I had the duration of the pneumonia antibiotic. And meanwhile, my appetite was slowly starting to come back, but I wasn't ready to go full time with solids. Well, on Thursday, on September 17th, we decided to try me eating a few tacos. Well, by the time I had the third taco and the last taco, I felt a sense of suffocation because of the fact that my immune system, my body was not used to me having solids. So I basically said, my mom, please, whatever you do not give me any more solids, at least not for a while, because I feel a bit suffocated. So we went back to the soups and everything, and somehow with the miracle and the prayer of God, and my mom's of course praying to all the gods and the angels and the saints, all part of the Catholic religion. Of course, by Sunday, I'm already back to almost normal, if you must. On the September 20th, I was already up and around, sitting at the computer, typing, doing homework, or not doing homework, but doing my normal things like check email, pay bills, all that good stuff. So I was already somewhat recovered, but not fully recovered to do things. So by Sunday, September 20th, I slowly began eating solids again. She decides to feed me bean tacos, if you must, and that actually was the first salad I had in a while, because the salads I've had, I would either reject them or I would reject them, or I would just basically say, no, I don't want them. I want something soft. I don't want to eat solids. So by September 21st, which would have been a Monday, I was already up and going. My first time drinking coffee again, where I didn't feel like I needed to evacuate the coffee. So I was happy that I didn't have to take any more of at least the morning tea she would give me. But I believe on that day I also stopped taking the red onion tea, because by that point I was already evacuating all the mucus and everything. And by September 23rd, I was well enough to where I was able to pretty much stay up all day. My sleep schedule came back to normal. My sense of smell came back. My appetite came back fully. And I just wanted to eat what was in my path, because of the fact that I was basically deprived for about a week and a half, almost 2 weeks. So what am I trying to say, folks, before I go any further, is that if you are a firm believer in God, and if you have people supporting you, such as your family, good friends, like in my case, I had 2 friends who knew about it from the get-go, um, and then of course my Michigan family, they knew about it because of course I let them know, and then I let Christian Record know, so they were all on board and praying for me. So what I'm trying to say is the fact that there is a reason why CDC and the government make all these rules, whether we agree with it or not. And I hope that now that you've listened to my testimony, you'll understand why these rules are in place. On September 24th, I was quarantine free, and my mom and I basically went and ran errands. One of the things we determined that mentally I was ready to go with life, but physically I wasn't ready to succeed in life, for the simple fact that when it came to lifting those big cases of water from the pallet into the cart and the cart into the truck, it knocked the wind out of me. I couldn't breathe after the heavy lifting I helped my mom do with all these cases of water, because there was 2 of them, and there were some, at least for me, they felt heavy because I didn't have the strength at that point to lift what I know was a simple task. So as we went and ran errands, I pretty much stayed in the truck after the Costco run, for the simple fact that my lungs just couldn't take it no more. Because again, mentally I felt better, but physically I wasn't fully recovered yet. But yet I decided to do some strenuous activity, and that was to lift the cases of water and put them into the cart. But then after about 3 or 4 store trips, I asked if we can go for a walk around Staples and Best Buy. And at that point, I felt a little better, because that's when my lungs was able to recirculate, get a lot of air build up, and because I didn't have to do any lifting, we were able to kind of walk around just so I can get some walking distance in me, so that my health and my breathing and everything else could improve. And here we are, September 28th, and I'm about 95% better, I guess. I mean, that 5% still has to be the fact that, yes, we live out in the country, but also with the heat and everything, there's just no way for me at that point to go for a walk so I can try to rebuild my lungs and have that circulation, so that I'm able to breathe better and not feel like when I breathe I would cough. Thankfully I haven't felt that, but even so, when I would do strenuous activities, that's how I would feel. So the whole point of all this, folks, is the fact that, you know, God is in control of your life, whether you like it or not. God is very powerful, and the fact that He was able to get me almost fully recovered, in the sense that I'm here sharing my testimony with you, for the simple fact that this virus does not discriminate. Blind or not, it's going to get you when you least expect it by many ways. You can even be breathing right now. For all you know, you can contract the virus. And of course, I don't wish that on anybody, not even to my worst enemy. But the thing is, complaining about it and smack talking the government and such is just not going to get you anywhere. So all I can really suggest is live life. Don't let the media, don't let the government, don't let the CDC influence you in such a way where you're going to feel bitter about life, and you're going to basically, in short, post it out there and try to vent your frustration, and only to have people frown upon you just because of the fact that you decided that you weren't going to wear a mask, or you weren't going to do this, or you weren't going to do that, for whatever reasons you have. And it's safe to say that, of course, first and foremost, I would like to thank God for giving me another chance to live, because otherwise I would have passed away, at least, I'd say, by either September 15th onward. I would have passed away. And the fact that, of course, my family, my mom, everybody decided that they were going to pray for me, to all their Catholic saints and angels and gods and you name it. And of course, Christian Record and their staff for their morning prayer prayed for me, and all those. And last but not least, of course, my Michigan family. You know who you are. You all pulled together and prayed and checked up on me. And of course, my two friends, you know who you are, always checked up on me just to see how I was doing. So without all of your guys' support, I wouldn't even be here. Oh, and of course, I cannot forget the station I volunteer at, 98.6 The Mix. Herbie and his wife Chanel. They also checked up on me just to make sure that I was doing okay and such. And now, folks, let's have a prayer to close this. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for allowing me to share this testimony to those who are watching me, whether it's on YouTube or other means of social media. Thank you for blessing me and my family with life and what it has to offer. Yes, sometimes we complain about the most simple things, but yet you're also proving to us that you're there no matter what struggles we face in life. Lord, please bless those who are going through a hard time with the whole virus. And for those who are sick, please show them the light and show them that you're very powerful, and that you're able to take away their pains and sorrow, and their pain and sorrows, and also the fact that you will heal them in such a way that they will feel rejuvenated and full of energy. Lord, please bless my family at Michigan, those for Christian Record Services, and those who made a huge impact on me, including my own family, as I was going through the whole recovery process. And in your name I pray, amen. Thank you for listening and for watching my testimony. Love, respect, and treat those the way you want to be loved, respected, and or treated. See you next time, and God bless.